Hello, everybody, and welcome to Edusations. Today I have Adam from Ohio. Adam, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the viewers?
Hey everyone, I am Adam Muller from Cincinnati, Ohio, and I teach at New Richmond Middle School. And I'm getting ready to start my 9th year. And I started my first 4 years in special ed, and I have done the last 4 years teaching social studies, two of which has been with 7th and 8th grade. So
Okay. I think I've asked you this question before, but since you're in Cincinnati, does that make you a Bengals fan?
I am totally a Bengals fan, and I remember you saying that you're a Steelers fan.
Die hard.
And I don't know how that sits with me, Phil.
I
It
know. I know.
it kind of bothers me a little bit.
There's a friend in one of my Bible studies at church. He's a Ravens fan, and so I'm a Ravens fan and a Bengals fan. So it's like, I need to find some Steelers fans now.
Well, I don't know. Those dirty Steelers players just kill me sometimes. Kill me.
Sometimes me too. But hey, listen, I'm really glad you're here because this is finally the opportunity to get a history teacher on here. So I want to talk a little bit about teaching history. And so I want to learn a little bit about your approach to teaching history to your middle school students. So why don't you explain that to the viewers too?
So my approach to history is I want to try to find the best way that I can to connect history to my students, and I guess vice versa, connect my students to history as well. And my approach is to try to be as creative as possible. And actually, I have a sign on my wall, and I'm in my classroom right now. It says "My thoughts on history," and I have number one: don't worry about memorizing dates and quotes. This is why we have books and Google.
Yeah.
And I have what matters is what happened and why it happened. And then I said some other thoughts on there. The United States did not begin with the Declaration of Independence. And then history should be learned through photos, documents, music, and your experiences. And so I try to take that approach when coming up with lessons and just in my teachings, and try to find the best way I can to connect history to my students and vice versa.
I like what you said about not memorizing the dates and of different events and things like that, because like I'll tell my students openly, this is not going to be a class where whenever you get a test, it's going to say what day did such and such happen, or did this happen or that happen. Like I'm not looking for you to like spit stuff up at me. I want to make sure you're like thinking very critically about this information that I'm giving you. Have you read what's it called, Historical Thinking and Other Unnatural Acts by Sam Weinberg before?
I've never read that.
It is an awesome book about like helping students really like take it. And it sounds like from the poster that you have in your classroom, a lot of his key ideas you incorporate into your classroom very naturally anyway. Yeah, it's that idea of like, why do I need to memorize like every single date that every single act was passed whenever Britain was, putting all these different taxes on the colonies, whenever I can very easily look up and find it on Google. Like I want to know, why did that happen? What's the implications of them doing that instead,
And it's so hard to, because I grew up learning history in that way,
Right.
knowing
Me too.
dates, memorizing this date, this name, this quote, and that I kind of have that in my mind as well. But I've had to teach myself to not teach in that way and to try to, and correct me if I'm wrong, is I think Sam Weinberg does the Stanford History Education Group, right?
He is, yeah, yep.
And that's something that I use a lot in my class, and because I love those open-ended questions with the primary sources, and I love the structured academic controversies. And I don't know if you've ever done those or not within your class, where the students have to go through sources, figure out which side each source supports, and then they meet back together and then debate. And so the whole the Stanford History Education Group, I love using those in class because they make students critically think, and but it's not so like over their head that they don't understand it. And I don't know. I think they're very well put together, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's a whole idea, and it's something that you and I have already said, that historical thinking is not basic memorization. It's the critical thinking, it's the empathy, it's understanding context and continuity, contingency, and all these different things, all these different factors that are in place. Like I had a history professor who, the first day of every class that I took with him, and I use it with my students now too, he puts up on the board the Forbes 500 like they interviewed a bunch of Fortune 500 CEOs. They said, these are the top 12 skills that we're looking for in future employees. And it's like critical thinking, being able to communicate in written format, and being able to do this, this, and this. And he spends time the first day of class saying, this is where history applies to each one of these. And none of them are memorize this and regurgitate it. It's being able to take that data and take that information and being able to process it as well. And I think that's like one of the problems currently is that, you said that you grew up sitting through like lecture memorizing. I grew up that same way. And so unfortunately our students, as we're trying to like create a paradigm shift here, parents were growing up in our generations. And so they have the old fashioned sense of history, whereas we're trying to expose them to this new, very applicable, usable past sort of method of history.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And and you brought up the whole, we sat through lectures. I don't know. I try to use lecture very sparingly in my class, and but when I go to sit down at the beginning of the year and try to design lessons and think through things, I try to lecture on concepts that I feel like the students will like often confuse. And this being going into my 5th year of social studies, I'm starting to pick up on those things. And I'm going to have to lecture once or twice during this unit, or once or twice during this unit. But when I do, and it's fun for the students, I have them time me. I say, all right, somebody time me 10 minutes. I'm not talking longer than 10 minutes. And then, of course, they get all into that. And they're like, all right, you got 2 minutes, Mr. Moeller. And so, I don't know. I try to use it sparingly and then let them kind of go out and explore on their own a little bit with some of the concepts and ideas.
Yeah, and I still don't think that there's anything necessarily like inherently wrong with lecture. I think it's all about how you do it as well. Because you and we'll talk about this in a second, you dress up in different costumes at some points for some of your teaching. I like to weave together my lectures as like a story. And so like I'm sitting there and we're going through a story, and we're unraveling all these different bits of information together. It's not like the very plain, Bueller type thing. It's a very active, engaging conversation that's being interwoven in there, able to ask questions and think critically, and we can go different directions with it. But yeah, like it definitely does seem like there's two very different extremes in the history teachers as well too. There's the, defense lecture all the time, and the, oh my goodness, never lecture ever. And I kind of consider myself somewhere in the center between the two of them, to use like the typical undergrad. Oh, he's in the center on these two polar things.
Yeah. And I like that you bring that up, because I probably am in the center as well. But for me personally, I'm still trying to work toward that, kind of let them explore more than I talk, and that's what I'm striving for anyway. So.
Yes, and so one of the ways that like you strive to help them explore and is you help them experience too. And I alluded to this a couple seconds ago about you dressing up in different costumes whenever you are going through different units. Why don't you go ahead and explain like what's your inspiration behind doing that? How'd that all start, and what's been the reception of it?
Well, the first, I don't know. I have always been a very reserved, quiet person. I never really put myself out there. I never really wanted to be too over the top, and that's just kind of my personality. And then this year, after reading Teach Like a Pirate, I got this inspiration that maybe I need to put myself out there a little bit. Maybe I need to do something off the wall. And I'll never forget this. I was teaching the Bill of Rights to my 8th graders, and I acted out each individual amendment. And it was crazy. It was awesome. Weird. And it kind of made me nervous to do it at first. But I teach, so because I have 7th and 8th grade, I teach 3 classes of 8th grade, 3 classes of 7th grade a day. And so as I started acting out these different amendments as the day went on, I started feeling more and more comfortable. And the students responded to me differently as well. And it's like they loved it and they wanted more of it. And just because it was so different and off the wall. And I thought, how can I incorporate more of that? Because they just loved it so much and they connected with it. And I thought, well, how can I incorporate it into seventh grade a little bit more as well? And so I went, there's a costume store in Cincinnati, and I went to this store and I bought a king costume. And I thought, I'm going to dress up in this purple. And I told him too, I'm going to be there's a guest speaker coming in, book the night in. And so I dressed up in this purple cape, purple hat, came in and read this note from the Pope in a loud, just loud booming voice atop of a chair. And then we went out onto a crusade across the parking lot.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. And then I thought, and you know, for the XYZ affair in 8th grade, it's about a French agent, these French agents. And I thought, I have a trench coat, I have a tie, and I didn't have to go buy a costume. It was great. I had the perfect hat, the sunglasses, the trench coat. Told them my 8th graders, guest speaker coming in. I came in and acted like a French agent and talked about how awful the Americans were. And so they really enjoyed that one as well. And then I used the king costume again when we did the Black Death. And I said, well, the king died from the Black Death. And then the final costume was a monk costume. And I came in as Martin Luther and talked about how bad the Catholics were. And you know, it's just fun. It's different. And my goal for the end of this summer is I need to go buy a colonist costume at this costume store. I need to get the white wig, the colonist the outfit, the hat that goes with it. And I figured that could be used in multiple ways. I could be George Washington. I could be James Madison. I could be a colonist. You know, we could do all kinds of things. So that's my goal coming up, get one of those costumes.
And it creates that buy-in, like, why is my teacher dressed like this? What's going on right now, right? And it's great. So you do the costume approaches, and I love the I love that crusading idea. And another way that you utilize and you try to like meet the needs of your students is through different forms of ed tech too. And so like you've really helped me understand more how a hyperdoc works. Why don't you help the viewers that maybe they've never used a hyperdoc or they've like heard the term, they're trying to figure out like what are some steps I need to take to build them? Like what are they? Let's start with something like that.
Well, a hyperdoc is something new that I incorporated this year. I've heard about them. And I'm sure, like most people, I'm like, all this is just a web quest. But the more I started to explore and look into it, the more I thought, this isn't really a web quest, and it's not about links. It's in sending students to different parts of a website just to look up answers to questions. This is more of helping me differentiate. It's more helping me free up my time so I can circulate the room and work one-on-one with students. Students work at their own pace, but it leads students on a journey, and there's like a whole structure to it. And what's nice is they've offered templates on a Hyperdoc website that you can go off of, but you don't have to stick to it. You can kind of mix and match the pieces together. And I know for me personally, and this is just and I don't know if it was a school issue or not, but I'll just share this out because I know you're going one-to-one next year, if I remember correctly. Do you guys have Chromebooks, or what are you guys using?
We're doing Chromebooks this upcoming year.
What I have found here, and like I said, I don't know if our Chromebooks they weren't updated. I don't know. But I did Hyperdocs using Google Slides, and they seem to run a lot slower.
Okay.
Hyperdocs I used on Google Docs. So I started to use them on Google Docs more. And that's better. But like I said, try it out on Google Slides because I like the Google Slides format better. It just didn't work out with our Chromebooks. But what it is, though, is these Hyperdocs provide a journey. They take these students on a journey, and it starts with this engagement. And you find a video, find something just that can pique their interest and kind of hook them in a little bit. And then you get them moving into exploring the concept a little bit. And then you get them explaining the concept in different ways, and then applying whatever the concept is. And then finally, you get them sharing out with other people. And then for those students that tend to work a little bit faster, you can do an extend piece on your Hyperdoc that can take the idea a little bit further or a little bit more in depth for them. And I guess one thing that just an example, I guess, a Hyperdoc that I set up was one on popular sovereignty.
Okay.
So I found, and you know, I guess the engagement can be different for every piece.
Sure.
But I found a video, and I also found a quick definition of popular sovereignty. And then the explore piece, I had them reading different primary sources to explore the meaning a little bit further. And then I had them explain to me what popular sovereignty was, whether it was through Flipgrid or whether it was through writing. And then finally, the applying piece, I had them show me with Legos what popular sovereignty was.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I had kids building, and I remember that. Like, there was a kid, he was like on a third grade reading level, somewhere in there. And all on his own, he built this Lego piece of popular sovereignty. And I said, "What did you build? What is this?" And he said, "It's people voting." I'm like, "That's awesome, man. Great job." Yeah. And so, and then the final piece, the sharing piece, was having them take a picture and then add it to a classroom Google slide deck. And so they would share their picture they took of their Lego creation, and then they would explain what they showed with other people. And so and to me, that's a heck of a lot different than a web quest and just sending kids to links. You just took them on a journey from engagement to sharing, and we hit everything. We used tech, we used Legos, hands-on stuff, and we read primary sources. And I thought, you know, that's what a Hyperdoc's all about.
Yeah, and I love that it's so much more than just, hey, here's like, go to this link and answer like this question about it. It's so much more. Like, Hyperdocs let students build and create so much more. Yeah. And it helps them feel like I'm taking ownership of this. I'm an active contributor of knowledge here. And like, I'm able to approach it at my own pace, and I'm able to like take my own understandings of it and apply it. So it's not just like, you know, web quests are basically Google Doc worksheets. So, you know, it's great to move beyond the worksheet here for certain components, and being able to say, like, let's go do this. Let's go make like a Lego, a popular sovereignty, take a picture and add it to our slide deck. So we have this running like collection of ideas on how to explain to people. Like, I love that. I might steal that for this year. I love that. That's great.
I'll gladly share it with you. I'm glad.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it sounds like you thrive with being able to connect with your students in class. You also do it outside of class. You're a tennis coach. How do you think that helps you build relationships in classrooms? And even if, you know, the kids you're coaching aren't your classroom students, how do you think working with kids outside of the typical class time helps you work with them then whenever you see them the next day in school?
You know, what's great about tennis is I can connect with people of all different ages, and so I've learned to I guess connect with people in different ways, and learn to talk to people in different ways, and understand what people are about. And it just tennis provides me with a chance just to get to know more people and network with other people. And you know, for me, it's just a different way of teaching outside of getting out of the classroom, and it's doing something that I love, and it's something that's been a part of my life since I was 5 years old. And I don't know, I love it. Now I'll say this, like before I became a school teacher, I tried the tennis thing full time. I thought, you know what, I'm going to try to teach tennis full time. That's going to be my job, make a career out of it. But it just, as I got like a year and a half into it, just found out it wasn't for me. And but I have discovered though recently that if I'm doing it like 15 hours a week, 10, 15, I'm happy. And
That's
it like
great.
provides me a chance to share a passion with people. And what's great is, um, you know, these kids leave eighth grade and go on up to the high school, which is right up the hill from our middle school.
Okay.
And number one, I see a lot of kids I had in class at the club I teach at that wanted to play tennis. And they said, Mr. Mueller, I'm playing tennis because of you. And you talked about, because I try to share it in
Right.
class. And I'm from New Richmond. I graduated from here. I played tennis for this school.
Okay.
I have my yearbooks on the shelf. Um, my tennis racket's up in the glass case in the high school,
Okay.
and kids know that and they see that and they're like, "Is that you?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." And they're like, "You play tennis?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Sorry, I don't really talk about it that much. Every now and then I share tennis stories, but I love it when they tell me, I wanted to try tennis because of you. I wanted to play tennis because of you. You made it sound like so much fun." And then really love it when I see them at the club I'm teaching at, or I get a chance to work with them as well. And I've had that experience this summer, being able to connect with past students who are wanting to take their tennis a bit further. And I just really enjoy it.
So that's how you know you found a calling, right? So yeah, that's awesome, Adam. I love that. Yeah, coaching is really rewarding. I used to coach wrestling, and I love that. Yeah. So hey, listen, we talked about a lot of really cool things here. I'm looking through my notes now. We were talking about teaching history, one of my favorite topics. Got to talk about your costumes, spent some time looking at Hyperdocs too, and then getting to look into your passion of tennis and coaching, and talking about how valuable that is, that you're able to make an impact with students even if they aren't sitting behind a desk in your classroom too, which I think is great.
Yep.
We are almost at the point where time has run up, so we are at the point where we do our high fives. These are 5 questions totally unrelated to education, just so the viewers get to know you a little bit better. Are you ready?
Cool. Bring
All
it.
right, let's do it. First one, favorite fried food?
Ooh. See here. You know what? I've got to go with cheese sticks. I love them.
Yeah, they're the best, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. But why are they so expensive?
Yes, I know.
Why I don't understand that. You go order 4 cheese sticks and it's like $8.99. It's like, what? It's mozzarella with breading around it.
I know. You know what? LB and I, we've started to make our own cheese sticks at home sometimes and fry them, and they've been not as good, but they've been pretty close sometimes. So, yeah. Oh, okay, second question. Childhood toy you remember enjoying most?
I'm gonna have to go with my Hot Wheels. I had a ton of Hot Wheel cars, and I had the tracks. I would set up a town, and I just remember myself always playing with Hot Wheels.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Oh yeah.
We used to have we had so many tracks. We would set ours like up and down the staircases all over our house whenever our parents would be gone, and just like whip them around. It was great. Okay, third one. Favorite TV show or movie?
Ooh, I hands down Friends. Love Friends.
Yes.
Love to make a Friends reference. I have a poster in my room where it says "Ask 3 before me," and it's ask Google, ask YouTube, or ask your friends. And I have a picture of all the friends. So Chandler, Ross, Phoebe, Monica, Joey, got them all up there. So Friends by far.
So I ended up like binge watching Friends my senior year of college, and I watched every single episode except for the last one. So it's been like 4 years, and I still haven't watched the last episode because I can't bring myself to like admitting that the show is like over. It's so good.
And it's so funny because I have that same thought as like I have forced myself to watch it, and I'm just going to say it. I had a slight tear run down my eye. I'm just going to admit it. I'm admitting it right now.
Great show.
but I always have trouble bringing myself to get to the end of season 10 because I just don't want it to be over with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So know exactly what that's all about.
Fourth one, this number may increase as your kids gets older. How many goldfish do you think you've won at fairs?
You know what? I'm probably none.
Really?
None. Yeah. I never made my way over to the, and sometimes I'm kind of a boring person. I'm more of a people watcher at fairs. Even as a kid, I would not make my way to the rides or the games.
Okay.
So, yeah, my mom just wanted me to stay away from all that stuff. So
save money, be thrifty. Good.
Yes.
Last one, favorite music genre.
Ooh, man. Well, I'll admit this too. All summer I've been into the 60s music, but since the Eric Church concert and Kenny Chesney, I'm back in the country again. And that Kenny Chesney concert, that was the best concert I've ever seen at Riverbend in my entire life. I mean, it was awesome. The guy knows
something up in your soul.
Yeah, knows how to put on a show. So.
Well, hey, Adam, it's been great having you on. Anything you want to let the viewers know about you or anything else you want to say before we sign off for the day?
Well, Phil, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, and appreciate what you do through Twitter, and appreciate what you do in education, and connecting connecting people to people and sharing out ideas. And I think what you do is fantastic and great, and keep it up. And love watching you grow as an educator. And if anyone wants to follow me, you can follow me at Moeller3031 on Twitter. And again, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show, Adam. Hey, if you're somebody that wants to connect with Adam, please be sure to connect with him on Twitter. I'll make sure his description is in the description, or his Twitter handle is in the description of the video below. If you enjoyed what you saw today, I hope you'll consider subscribing to Edusations. And if you or somebody you know is interested in being on Edusations, they can very easily sign up by going to philstrunk.com/contact. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.